thing for me as an artist is I'm a gatherer of personalities. I like pulling together radically different people and seeing what everybody has to say and just kind of let it be a social sculpture. So the book, I collected all these different people. It's like a dinner party that you would never see Chuck D sitting down to talk to the senior legal counsel from Google unless they were suing him, maybe. But, you know, or you would never see Pierre Boulez, who's a very renowned composer, sitting down and hang out with maybe Saul Williams, or Steve Reich, the composer who wrote the introduction, or Cory Doctorow, who does Boing Boing. All of these are radically different people. So this book is kind of a mix. And the CD that goes with it, I collect really rare recordings by different artists. People like Antonin Artaud, I actually got his voice, or James Joyce, or Gertrude Stein. We even got Iggy Pop to read from William S. Burroughs for the last track on the CD. So these are all people with an amazing sense of music as art. And you gotta remember, with music, a lot of people just want to keep it simple, like, yo, dude, just hang, you know what I'm saying? And I've always been of kind of the end of the world for people who want to keep music simple, you know? Because I think every musician, every artist is complex, life is complex, nothing is simple, and it's relentlessly and unapologetically complex. One of the essays in it was by Bruce Sterling, who's an Austin local, and I had Bruce kind of do a remix of a piece about the idea of dead media, and the idea of obsolescence, and why people have this nostalgia for the obsolete. It's a brilliant essay. But at the end of the day, if you think about CDs, data compression, all the different kinds of material we use as software to condition the creative impulse in the 21st century, so many people are using the same software, and that's a real problem. So I wanted to make a book that would reflect that kind of issues, at the same time dig into it a little bit, tear it apart, and see what would fall through the cracks or fall through the broken seams in this kind of cocoon we put over our heads these days. I mean, I'm sure you guys have experienced this, like a DJ will just play the same style all night, or people will literally just play, you know, one kind of music, you know, one BPM all night, you know, which to me is mega boring. You know, it's like, I can't believe, you know, half the times you go at parties in New York, you hear like every single song, you know, it's like 90s nostalgia. And my nickname for that is like America fears the future right now. And if you go to other countries, if you go to Japan, you go to Brazil, India, China, I DJ in all these kinds of countries, people are moving, you know, straight ahead into the new kinds of musics and different styles. But America, especially, again, very specific to New York and the West Coast, people are recycling and reprocessing in a very, I think, interesting way, but at the same time, there's a little bit too much standardization. And my book's a kind of polemic against that. I've been working with Apple, and we had this kind of iPhone app that lets you take your whole iTunes library, and I don't know if everybody out there can see. You can essentially change your cell phone into a DJ mixing platform and import material from your iTunes library, do beat matching, detection, beat juggling. We're one of the top-rated iPhone apps. I'm working with DJ Mixer, which is Music Soft Arts, which is we've had one of the top downloads. It was in the top 25, over 75,000 people downloaded it, you know, just like, you know, within a couple weeks of when we put it out. So the DJ Mixer app, I think is something that's really interesting. Instead of standardization, what it allows is a tool to break up things. A lot of these are friends and peers of mine, Danger Mouse, Mixmaster Mike, who's the DJ for the Beastie Boys, Q-Bird. And if you compare this film to other films like Scratch or Rip, one of the things that really stood out for me, at least, was trying to create more voices rather than reducing it to one, or like Girl Talk, or reducing it to one like DJ Shadow or something like that. And one of the things that I felt was really strong about Copyright Criminals is that they tracked down people like Clyde Stubblefield, who's like literally one of the most sampled people in history. And he was James Brown's drummer. For anybody out there who's not you know, what they call digging in the crates. I mean, you probably heard him, but you've never, you know who it was. So tracking down all these people who've been sampled and comparing notes, I thought was a really amazing and smart thing to do. And it was a film that paid homage to the history of these kinds of sampling rather than just saying all of a sudden this is new and mashups are great, wow. You know, so yeah, my book and this kind of film are things that I really like the idea of saying that there's a lot of history going on, and there's a lot of people from radically different ethnic groups, regions. You got Finnish kids doing, you know, it's like crazy hip hop. You got kids in Brazil listening to heavy metal. You got Japanese kids doing, you know, like the Boredoms or something. There's a lot of people playing with genre and breaking it down, and it's not just about this kind of, again, standardization.